Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, the Science Toolboy.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, and today we're going to look at Cyrus the Great's conquest of Babylon. So, last time we checked in on Cyrus, he just conquered the Lydians.
And nearly burnt some kids alive.
Yeah, alright, he nearly burnt their king, Croesus, and 14 kids alive, but he didn't.
And before that, he thought he conquered the Medes, overthrowing his evil granddad who tried to kill him as a baby.
Yeah, he overthrew Astyages with the aid of Harpagus. Who
Astyages fed his own son to.
Yes, Harpagus was fed his own son, but, all tall tales aside, cheers Herodotus, Cyrus has quite quickly been conquering large chunks of land right throughout this period, so it's fair to say he's still on a bit of a roll.
So, next on Cyrus's Middle East tour of 539, whoop whoop, is the city of Babylon. So, Babylon was the main rival to Cyrus's growing empire. So, this famous city, sang about by...
Oh, Boney M.
Exactly, yeah, by the rivers, love a bit of Boney M, was ruled by King Nabonidus, and he controlled huge swathes of land, including the Levant, and importantly, access to 3 seas.
Before we carry on, can I just ask, where is it?
So, in terms of where it is now, we're looking at modern Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Turkey, Palestine, and Israel, plus others in that area.
Okay.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, so we're staying in Middle East, he's not gone too far.
He's not going too far yet.
Okay.
So, I mean, James, this is your third outing now with Cyrus.
It is, I'm getting to know him.
Any predictions for what's going to happen in Babylon?
From past experience, someone's going to try and do him over, he's going to beat them, and then be really nice about it.
Shenanigans are afoot then. Well, if we start with some of the oldest accounts, almost contemporary accounts, the first account of Cyrus's conquest of Babylon comes from the Nabonidus Chronicle.
Not some receipts.
Not some receipts. No, the Nabonidus Chronicle, and it says...
And the army of Cyrus entered Babylon without battle. Afterwards, after Nabonidus had retreated, he was captured in Babylon. There was peace in the city while Cyrus spoke.
Riveting stuff.
As I was about to say, that's it.
I mean, the Nabonidus Chronicle, we've seen it before. It's not overly elaborate. It's not a receipt. But one thing to point out with this is that even though it's called the Nabonidus Chronicle and Nabonidus was the king of Babylon, it's written after Cyrus has conquered Babylon. So we've got to be a bit careful. It's a bit pro-Cyrus-y, and even little things like Cyrus entered Babylon without a battle. Really? Not even a small one? It just opened the door.
It's basically propaganda then, isn't it?
It is a bit propagandist, but not to be done with the Nabonidus Chronicle in all its lengthy description. We've got another archaeological account, and this comes from the Cyrus Cylinder, and this says...
Marduk critically examined all the countries and searched for a just ruler who suited his heart. He took Cyrus, king of Anshan, by the hand, proclaimed his nomination, called his name for the lordship over the whole world.
That's very generous of him.
Yeah, it is a little over the top, especially given that this Marduk guy, that's the Babylonians' god.
Oh, right, okay.
So the Babylonian god is basically saying, Cyrus, all this is yours.
Is that it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, again, it's the Cyrus Cylinder. This is written to account all his great deeds, so it's a little propagandist.
This is a literal cylinder, this is on.
This is a literal cylinder. Hopefully there's a picture on the screen if I've remembered to find it. Yeah, it's a nice little clay cylinder, and it tells us the story of Cyrus, how apparently a god told him everything was his.
I mean, before he was born, waves of wee everywhere and vines.
He's buying into this divine causation. Yeah. But yeah, same deal as Nabonidus. It's pretty basic. Not a great description.
Not really. That was less exciting than the, sun cooking antics we've had before.
You couldn't make a film out of it, could you?
No.
Very short film.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a crowd pleaser.
Well, you're in luck, because there's Herodotus as well.
Of course.
So on to the Herodotus account. According to Herodotus, before Cyrus even gets to Babylon, he runs foul of a river.
Sure, foul of a river.
Herodotus!
Who's in it? He doesn't really. So, Herodotus says, on his march to Babylon, Cyrus came to the river Ganges. Cyrus was preparing to cross this river, for which boats were needed, when one of his sacred white horses, a high-spirited creature, entered the water and attempted to swim across, but was swept under by the rapid current and carried away. Cyrus was so furious with the river for daring to do such a thing that he swore he would punish it by making it so weak that even a woman could get over it in future. Highly sexist there, that's all I'm going to say.
Do they often anthropomorphise rivers? Like, I'm angry with you.
You river,
I'm
how
going to
dare
beat
you!
Is it the equivalent of like when someone annoys you and you decide you're going to punch a wall?
Well, it's kind of like when I fell over, my mum will come and slap the pavement.
I mean, there's the other issue. How do you punish a river?
With a dam, I'm guessing.
I'd wean it, that's what I'd do. You need to put something in it. It's really horrible, don't you? So, wean, poo, whatever.
Oh dear God, no.
Now making you
No.
angry.
No, dear God. Anyway, the answer is Herodotus.
So, Herodotus says, he held up his march against Babylon, divided his army into two parts, marked out on each side of the river 180 channels running off from it in various directions, and ordered his men to set to work and dig. Having a vast number of hands employed, he managed to finish the job, but only at the cost of the whole summer wasted. Then, having punished the Ganges by splitting it into 360 separate channels, Cyrus, at the beginning of the following spring, resumed his march to Babylon.
Take that, river.
Yeah, he's been really nice to everyone he's been at war to, and it's a river that winds him up.
And also, you would not want to be a soldier, would you? Can you imagine? Dig that river!
Well,
Why? Because I'm annoyed!
That river's annoyed me. Get him.
All they did was waste the summer.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this guy, he really has it in for this river. He's on his way to capture Babylon, major military operation. Hang on, lads. Let's get this river first.
From I know it's a dirty word to you two. From a geography point of view,
Shocking.
water and rivers generally win. Are all these channels still there now, or has the river won?
The river has won.
Rivers often do.
Rivers do. Moral of the story, don't fight a river. It's not going to go well. Although, I mean, to be fair, there is a tradition of ancient rulers having a go at bodies of water. I mean, Caligula famously sent the Roman army to fight Poseidon by stabbing the English Channel. So it's not that uncommon to...
From what I know of him, that's not the worst thing.
No, it's not.
No.
But that's a podcast for another day. So, after spending a huge amount of time and effort fighting a river, as you do, Cyrus
yeah, why not?
yeah, Cyrus remembers he's meant to be attacking Babylon, so they set off. Now, the Babylonian army, funnily enough, were waiting outside the city ready to attack him.
Not just open gates like the last source said.
No, I mean, they'd also had plenty of time to prepare, because
He'd fought a river.
You must have seen him, mustn't you? Can you imagine being in Babylon and then being like, oh no, there's an army coming. Oh, wait.
Stopping.
Wait,
Can you imagine
they've stopped.
the Babylonian scout who's going to report back to Nebuchadnezzar? It's like, where are they? What's going on? They're digging a river.
Doing a bit more digging. It's like, are they going to sail into the city? What are they going to do? And then no.
Turns out, no, they've just fought a river.
Yeah. So Herodotus basically tells us then that Cyrus defeats them on the battlefield and they flee behind the famous city walls. So even though his men are knackered, probably really angry, and have basically just wasted all of their summer, he still manages to beat the Babylonians even though they knew he was coming.
Can I just ask, there's this wall they're putting behind it, it's not just a ramp again, is it?
No, it's an actual famous walls of Babylon.
Okay,
They're quite
actually,
significant.
they've built a proper wall this time.
Yeah, it's different people. And unusually, I mean, we're saying Cyrus beats the Babylonians on the field. He doesn't really give us any details.
Is that really?
Yeah, there's no battle camels, there's no...
Oh, that's the only reason I turned up.
No, he's really to the point, and Herodotus does this. He's really, really elaborate in some descriptions of how to fight a river, but then when it comes to the actual battle, Nothing.
The stuff
Nada.
history may actually care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's partly because of his sources, and which is more exciting? Oh, they won a battle, or he beat a river.
The battle.
Yeah, all right, I know. But yeah, he's a bit hit and miss. So the fight against the Babylonians, we don't know whether he uses battle camels or some other.
In my mind, he always used
Armoured warthogs.
I mean, maybe that's why he didn't truly beat this river. He didn't deploy his camels.
They could have drank it.
Could have spat it out.
Yeah.
Some form of angry fish, ill-tempered amphibians. But no, they just have a battle, and then obviously it has to move to a siege against these actual walls of Babylon.
While we've been talking about the Persians, everything's been a bit more fanciful than we've spoken about before. I'm going to guess this is not a normal siege.
No, not really. So, because Cyrus has been scrapping with his river, as you do, like we said, the Babylonians have had a lot of time to prepare, basically a whole summer to grow some crops, harvest some crops, store some crops. So, realistically, Cyrus isn't that much of a threat to them. They've got these nice big big walls, they've got plenty of food, they're well stocked up.
Were the walls already there? He didn't give them so much time they had to erect these walls.
They didn't just magically build new walls. No, they were already there. They were already quite famous. And the other thing as well, that we're not sure entirely how it worked, but Babylon's famous for having its hanging gardens.
Yes.
So if you've got this urban agricultural centre, you can probably grow food in that while Cyrus is sat outside the walls going, "Are you hungry yet?" Or you're munching down on grapes.
Also, walls of Babylon and the city itself, even by this time, as Mr. Mitchell has just said, they were legendary. So the Babylonians thought that all they had to do was go to the Hanging Gardens, have a nice pint, and wait for the whole thing to blow over.
That always works.
Of course it does. So Cyrus would either run out of supplies, or he would give up. That's what they were hoping for, one of the two.
Or go and fight another,
What's that over there? What's that watery thing? It's looking at me funny.
Yeah.
It's a lake.
Find another geographical opponent.
Yeah, so the Babylonians at this point, they're not thinking of him as a major threat.
They're not worried about him.
No. All the camels in the world will not get him over those walls.
You've kind of set me up for a fall now, because the only way I'll be happy about this is with a camel ladder.
No.
Oh!
No, doesn't happen. So Babylon was really well defended on three sides. On the fourth side, it was less well defended because it was directly built on the banks of the Euphrates River.
Another river.
Another river.
So I mean, the Euphrates is one of the biggest rivers in the region. It's one of the great rivers of the Middle East, really. It's deep, it's fast, it's wide, and it's hard to cross. And it also acts as a major trade route, so there's docks built on it. It's a major trade route for Babylon, and arguably still is now today in modern Iraq. So it makes sense that if you, on one side, you've got this massive natural barrier, that unless you're going to, weaponise seahorses, no one's getting across it. So why spend your time building a massive wall? There's a small fortification, but no, they're using the river as a defensive line.
Yeah.
We all know what Cyrus thinks about rivers, though. So, yeah, the whole story about Cyrus fighting a river, it's not just a Herodotus ramble. I mean, to be fair, he is the Grandpa Simpson of ancient historians. Just when you think he's going somewhere, there's a fight with a river. It's a prequel to what comes next.
Another fight with another river.
Herodotus.
So it says, then taking with him all his non-combatant troops, he withdrew to the spot where, by means of a cutting, he diverted the river into the lake, which was then a marsh, and in this way so greatly reduced the depth of the water in the actual bed of the river that it became fordable. And the Persian army, which had been left at Babylon for the purpose, entered the river, now only deep enough to reach about the middle of a man's thigh, and making their way along it got into the town.
So really, all that digging they did last summer was practice.
Practice.
Practice, yeah.
It's almost like he knew exactly what he was going to do.
I'm surprised they've not tried to spin that to say that he did.
No, he digs a channel and drains the river while no one's watching.
I was about to say, if this is such a vital trade route, would they not notice the it ebbing away
Apparently not. So he drains the river, walks through the river, and into Babylon. But there's more.
Oh, good.
So because of the size of Babylon and the fact that they were having a festival at the time.
What? They're just having a big party.
They're having a massive party. So this is why they can't see what's going on, because they're all drunk.
There's no one more keeping track of it, though.
I told you, they didn't think it was that much of a problem. So
This is Anthony-esque.
It is very Anthony-esque, yes, definitely is.
should we worry about that big army outside waiting for it? Nah.
That's going the lash.
I wonder if the more they drank, the bigger the army got. But they still, but they still weren't concerned about it.
Either way, whilst this was all going on, and the city's massive, the Persians actually managed to capture most of the outskirts of the city before the people who were having the festival in the centre, before they even realised what was going on.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's a hell of a hangover, isn't it? You wake up and you're like, oh, I've got a really bad headache.
There's a load of Persians.
Where did you come from?
So yeah, he diverts a river, he sneaks in while everyone's partying and just takes over Babylon.
No wonder the walls were so good. They had to be, because otherwise the people just roll straight in.
Because everyone inside was too busy enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
So there goes Babylon.
They deserve to be conquered. I'm annoyed with them.
What were they growing in them hanging gardens? That's what I want to know. Not just veg.
So as we've just said then, Babylon falls, this great city falls with relatively little fuss. I mean, we were mocking the Nabonidus Chronicle saying it fell without a battle. It's not far wrong.
I would mention the party in that though.
Yeah, I mean, but what we see is between the Lydians, the Medes, the Babylonians, Cyrus is playing he's bringing his A game to these battles. Just when they think they're going to beat him, he pulls out his wild cards like battle camels or fighting rivers.
You may be a bit generous. He did fight a river.
He did fight a river, yeah. Well,
I'm not willing to let that go.
He took a lot of ditching.
It may have worked out well, but I'm not letting that slide.
The other thing though as well, even though he is showing tactical nous by using all of these different aspects in his battles, but you also have to think, is it not just because his enemies were a bit rubbish?
Well, yeah.
And that's why he's able
He's got a
also
habit
win.
of attacking people who are generally unpleasant to everyone.
Have they all not been invaded before? This
Big walls, fearsome cavalry.
they all seem quite ripe for the takeover.
Yeah, he could be lucky that he picks his moments. Now's a good time to attack them because, they're not doing so well. Oh, look, there's the famous walls. No, it turns out it's a ramp. And, by all accounts, Nabonidus wasn't a particularly great king, so...
It's as if he's winning though, because the people that he's fighting against keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to him being like,
But
able to conquer
Are you
anyone.
trying to suggest having a massive party in the middle of a siege is a mistake?
Yes.
Well, yeah, or like climbing in and someone seeing you going in the entrance and then them just following that as well.
Yeah.
What was his mate doing?
Astyages, apparently...
Was he with him through all
his
this?
evil granddad.
Yeah.
Apparently he's just hanging out in Cyrus's gaff.
Being an advisor.
Just being an advisor.
I think that shows more tactical nous and kind of better leadership, the fact that he uses people that were his enemies, brings them in as advisors and keeps an eye on them and keeps them close. I think that's cleverer.
Yeah.
Because they're there, so you're not going to annoy the people that they were in charge of because you're not actually killing them, but you can keep an eye on them because you're keeping them close.
Yeah.
And they also owe you a debt of gratitude because you've not killed them.
Or
so
burnt
they're
them
more
with 14 boys.
So they're more likely to do what you want them to do and be truthful to you and not try and stab you in the back, basically,
Are they
by
being
going
true?
against you.
Are they being truthful? It's not all these people he's conquered and brought into his court that are going like, that river's looking at you, funny mate.
But I mean, one of them got put on a bonfire, so if that doesn't make you learn your lesson, then I don't know what else would.
Fair
really.
enough.
It also it's not just these leaders though, is it? I mean, surely we could imagine you would imagine that news of Cyrus's conquest spread quite a lot throughout the region, and if certainly after he decides to bin off sacking cities, if people in Babylon have started hearing that Cyrus is coming and he doesn't burn down your house or your nan when he invades, You're like, oh,
She's son.
yeah. What's the worst that can happen? Shall we have a party? We pay taxes to him or Nabonidus. Either way, if we don't fight back, there's no big change. And he's arguably seen as very fair to all of these people he conquers.
What happens to Nabonidus?
Not a lot.
Oh, really?
He just was. We don't know. Nothing is heard of him since. He's
So
just
he's
held.
inconsequential. They don't even talk
Yeah,
about him.
we assume from the little snippets we've got is that he either runs off or he stays again as an advisor and
Right,
just
okay.
does what he's told until he dies.
Very different from Octavian.
He
He's
certainly, but he certainly doesn't do him any harm in terms of kind of how he's seen in the sources, does it?
No, he doesn't drag him
it's
around
great-
the walls.
It's
Or
great propaganda for Cyrus because he's being really nice to all of these people. So
How
if we
do-
believe it, then
How do the sources kind of balance this then? Because he's being very nice about it, but he's still going around conquering cities.
it's one of those. I mean, being a conqueror is one of the things ancient leaders should be. It's almost
okay.
like your badge of
honour.
honour, or your badge of manliness. I conquered
Right, okay.
places. It's a good and glorious, noble thing to do. But if you do it in a way that's beneficial, it's even better.
Okay.
So they have this very different view of how conquering works. It's almost like a thing that kings and so on should aspire to. It's all about being heroes. But we've got to remember that all of the sources are really quite sanitized for Cyrus because he becomes this almost kind of deified figure. Certainly, like in Iran now, he is a kind of deified figure. He's the founder of this great Persian Empire.
Okay.
And even at the time when Herodotus is writing, Cyrus is regarded differently to the more contemporary Persian kings as this great and glorious, semi-mythical character, which is why we have all these crazy stories, and he's just being nice to everyone. Plus, bear in mind, the Nabonidus Chronicle and the Cyrus Cylinder are both written while he is alive and very much in charge.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's chopping, I don't know, he's kicking kittens across the road, but they're only allowed to write nice things about him. Yes, some people will have come to untimely ends because of all his conquests, but when you compare him to some of the more kind of ruthless leaders in the ancient world, or the more brutal, or even the more prolific leaders, if you think about like tales from Troy, people like Agamemnon, you know, at the end of the siege of Troy, all the women and children are flung from the walls and sold into slavery.
Lovely.
And that's just how they did it. So Cyrus is set aside as this kind of semi-deified character, so it's really hard to say bad things about him, even if you're a Greek like Herodotus, who's got a few axes to grind with the Persians by the time he's alive. So there you have it. This was the story of how Cyrus conquered Babylon. Thank you for listening. We hope it's been useful. As always, leave us a comment below. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.